Donald Trump's pocket and have done so.
Are you aware that
Trump?
Are you aware that Trump doesn't take? It never has took his presidential checks.
Oh! Trump's
Hotels,
an infinitely richer man now than he was when he saw the
presidency
presidency
in 2016. Are you jealous of that, or like because he's?
Get his ass! Are you jealous, Glenn? Oh, that's awesome. This is prime hog. Let's watch Glenn Greenwald on the Jube. I'm actually very excited about this. 1 journalist versus 20 Trump
supporters. We're in a major war.
This is probably the clearest expression of MAGA we've ever seen. And Glenn Greenwald is incredible at cooking these guys. Although I have my disagreements with Glenn, he does a great job here. So let's take a look at how insane the Trump MAGA cult is, finally.
Are we in Iran?
I mean, sure, we're in a conflict, but I don't think this is where you actually got it wrong.
Is it a
war?
war? Have you ever thought about going and fighting in this war that you're cheering on?
I mean, I've thought about joining the military before. I don't know about this war specifically.
When your adversary races to arms and increases their offensive capabilities, it's going to create a security dilemma.
That's a madman mentality. Iran lost any civilians?
Yeah, I'm sure. That's how war works.
That's how war works? Like on the first day we vaporized 170 young Iranian schoolgirls by bombing an elementary school.
Is the Trump administration actually America first? Or has MAGA morphed into something Trump supporters no longer recognize? I'm John Regalado, and from Jubilee Media, this is Surrounded. Today, we're diving into Trump's foreign policy record, the conflict with Iran, the United States' relationship with Israel, and much more. I'm here in the center with our featured guest, independent journalist Glenn Greenwald. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
Are you ready to jump into these debates?
I am ready.
Debaters, are you ready?
Dude, is the Trump administration America first? Is like a question not dissimilar to being like, is the Democratic Party the pro-labor party? Okay. Like probably the easiest dunk session of all time. And yet, of course, Republicans still think they can advance this cause for some reason.
Let's get into it.
Hi, I'm Glenn Greenwald. I'm an author and independent journalist. And today I am surrounded by 20 Trump supporters. My first surrounded claim is President Trump is more of a war-making president than a peacemaking president.
If you would like to debate this claim, please get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
This is also, I feel like, Glenn basically making up for his bad analysis throughout the election. Like, I don't think I'm not one of these guys who's like, oh, Glenn, you because you didn't like defend the Democrats, or Democrats are significantly better than the Republicans, blah, 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 all this shit. But there is one thing that I've always been very frustrated with Glenn on, especially because like Glenn is a person that I had profound respect for. And he never went the full Matt Taibbi route. So respect to him on that, at least, I guess. But Glenn Greenwald did. Glenn Greenwald did say a bunch of things that I was very frustrated with. One of the things that I always hated was that he was very skeptical of the Republican Party. He was very skeptical of the Democratic Party. Freudian slip there. He almost went full Taibbi. He was very skeptical of the Democratic Party, which is fine. It's worthwhile, but he never offered that same scrutiny to the Republicans, and I could not stand it. If you recall, one of the things I always got mad at, because I would criticize Glenn all the time, one of the things I always got mad at with Glenn was, like, yeah, the Democrats are absolutely worthy of scrutiny. The Democrats are absolutely worthy of criticism. They do a bunch of shit. But if you don't have a consistent principled stance, that and don't actually entertain the same line of questioning with the Republicans, or take the Republicans their word, then you're basically just a Republican. Like, you're a propagandist for the Republican Party, which is insane. Because at least like there are certain redeemable factors of the Democrats when you look at like all of the issues, right? There are certain redeemable factors of the Democrats as opposed to the Republicans. There's really nothing redeemable about the Republican Party at all. And then the Democrats can still engage in certain actions that make them irredeemable across the board, like, you know, doing a genocide. That's a huge one. Probably a pretty reliable red line for many.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Micah.
Good to
meet you, Glenn. So first, I want to just ask, what makes a peacemaking president?
A peacemaking president is somebody who, in the first place, avoids war for their own country, either solves and resolves wars that they inherit or prevents wars from breaking out that they would get their country involved with.
Okay, so you agree that prevention is a part of what makes a president a peacemaking president?
For sure.
Okay, so then what about Trump's foreign policy is not prevention?
Well, the first thing that he did in getting to office, basically within 30 days, was restarted a bombing campaign that President Biden had prosecuted throughout 2024, that President Trump during the campaign had heavily criticized. Yet as soon as President Trump got into office, he not only restarted that bombing campaign, but escalated it. That was the one in Yemen against the Houthis. It went on for about 5-6 weeks, entailed hundreds of people who were dead.
Was that not necessary for like global trade to ensue? Was the Houthis not attacking multiple different ships? And
no, the Houthis were only attacking Israel at the time that President Trump did that. There was a peace deal that President Trump engineered that ended up being very temporary. And the Houthis said for as long as this peace.
Also, Glenn is low-key the perfect person to present himself as like the former MAGA fallen out of favor, because he did, whether it was sincere or not, act like he genuinely believed Trump's statements. Glenn Greenwald might as well have been the only person who actually listened to Donald Trump act as though he was going to be the peace president and go, yeah, I like it. I like what he's saying and I believe him. Which, again, incredibly stupid thing to believe. I never did, for the record, as you guys know. But it's like shocking that he did, it seems. But now at least is saying like, well, he didn't follow through on his promises. Well, yeah, of course he didn't. Glenn Deason said he did too. Dude, I'll put you on game. The reason why a lot of these guys actually thought Trump could present a different scenario or be a different kind of candidate, a different kind of president, is because the blob is bipartisan. Foreign policy is uniparty. But Trump is incredibly selfish and not a very ideological person, okay? That's the reason why they thought, oh, because he's like an ideological person, maybe he'll actually cut deals that you would never expect from the likes of Biden or even Barack Obama. That's literally the only reason. A hope and a dream just on Trump's tendency to be pragmatic and self-interested. Because from these guys' perspective, and there is at least some truth to it, like I'm trying to be as charitable as possible to this interpretation to their worldview, but like Glenn Deason, Glenn Greenwald, these guys, they have seen over and over again every administration come and go and engage in maximum warfare, no matter who's in charge. The only reason why I never placed a lot of emphasis on Trump's pragmatism was because I also saw how he reacted when he was president the last time. So it doesn't even matter if he's like a pragmatic guy or if he's not ideological, because like the outcome is still the same.
Deal is in place. We won't attack ships. Once the Israelis started violating it, not letting food, they said we're only going to attack Israeli ships.
So here's a
and that's when
question.
President
Here's a
Trump
question
attacked.
for you, Glenn. Are we still in conflict in Yemen?
No, President Trump ended his own war that he started.
Okay, so then by your definition, did we not prevent further conflict by having this conflict, and would we not free up the trade routes in Yemen from being attacked by the Houthis? It's free, is it not?
It's like saying I stabbed myself in the stomach, but then I brought myself to the ER where I had a doctor fix me up, and that proves that I'm really interested in fitness and self-care. President Trump started the war in Yemen. He escalated the war in Yemen. It was stopped at the time that he took over.
Were the Houthis attacking people or not?
They were attacking a foreign country called Israel that is not part of the United States.
Okay,
so
do these international trade routes not affect America?
No, not when it's only Israel whose ships are being attacked. You can say the war is just. The question is President Trump making war or making peace? You can say, okay, he made war in Yemen, but I think the war is just. He's still a war-making president by definition. There was no war when he got in.
By the result of the conflict that it was a peacemaking military engagement. We have peace in Yemen now.
How did it end?
How did it end?
It ended by the Houthis saying, we will not attack anybody except the Israelis, and as long as they're denying food and water entering into Gaza. And they continued to do so. It achieved nothing. All it did was have the United States deplete our missiles, our military force, our resources. It was a war that didn't exist, that Trump created. Yes, congratulations, he ended his own war, but that is an example of a war-making president. That's just one example. There's obviously war in Iran as well, that he inherited a presidency where we were not at war with Iran. We are now at war with Iran. We've twice gone to war with Iran under President Trump. That's another war that he's made.
Do you not agree that Iran is a major threat and destabilizes the Middle East all the time.
I don't, but we'll get to whether the war is just. The question now is, does President Trump make more wars?
Well,
you seem to be acknowledging
I want to
he makes
go back
wars, but
to
that
what
they're
you
just.
initially agreed to, though, is that part of what makes a peacemaking president isn't just, oh, we don't start any conflicts. It's actually engaging in conflicts to prevent further
wars.
Buddy, I don't know how to explain this to you, but you're a moron. What do you mean? Oh, he's starting wars to end wars. So he's starting wars. A peacemaking president would end wars. A peacemaking president would retreat from the permanent militant posture that America has around the world. It doesn't make any sense how you could argue with this. You're like, well, I agree with the stuff he's doing, so it's actually for peace. That's the whole point. That's the argument. Like, what do you mean? Oh, well, he ended those wars. He started them.
Peace. Did you read 1984 by George Orwell?
Well, no, I'm just
asking.
I'm literally quoting what you said earlier at the beginning of
No,
this
but George
conversation.
Orwell in 1984 described the most extreme kind of propaganda by war-making tyrannies. And one of the things citizens get told is war is peace.
Did you not admit that part of what makes a peacemaking president is stepping in and preventing further conflicts?
Yes, but you can't prevent conflicts by starting conflicts. Starting conflicts is starting conflicts.
Why can you not use
the wars that you start?
Can you
We
not
got to pause
start?
here, Mike. We got to pause here. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So in reference to Trump being a peacemaking president or a warmongering president, let's say, for example, let's start with the conflicts that he did indeed stop, right? For example, Pakistan, India. Pakistan nominated Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. They said that he specifically played a big role in preventing that conflict. Well, India disagreed, but...
Dude. Okay, I hate watching this. I just like, I remember why I don't like watching Jubilee. Because when I see people that stupid, I'm like I just don't want to be reminded that I'm living on a planet in a country where people are this dumb. Because it's a very sad reminder that every time Trump comes out and says, I ended 9 wars, and we're all laughing around, we're like, haha, who believes this? Like, there are people who are eating that garbage up. There are people who are tuning in going, oh my God, that's my president. He ended 9 wars. You can't even say these guys needed lobotomy. They have lobotomized themselves, man. They have purposely and willingly lobotomized themselves. That's why they agree with this worldview. That's why they repeat these kinds of talking points. You can only feel this way and talk this way and act this way if you have already been lobotomized.
Pakistan, regardless, said that he played a key role in preventing it. We had Thailand versus Cambodia also break out. Cambodia nominated Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize and also said that he prevented that conflict. I'd also say in reference to Venezuela, obviously no one thinks that Maduro was good there. The tyranny was crazy. The way that he was leading the government, everyone agrees. But he was able to take Maduro out, and Daisy Rodriguez, who's now the vice president, is very, you could say, subordinate or servile, right? 50 million barrels worth of oil, restricting Cuba, so on and so forth. And so I would disagree that he's a warmongering president.
Okay, the point is not he's a warmongering president. The formulation is he's more of a war-making president than a peacemaking president. So even in your examples, including in Venezuela, you're not denying that he used military force in a way that is considered an act of war by every country on the planet. You're defending the wars that he's making by saying they lead to good outcomes, which we can debate, but that's a separate question from the proposition. As far as these wars that you're concerned that I know he loves to cite, India was vehement that he had no role to play of any meaningful kind in mediating that conflict between India and Pakistan. That is a war that goes back, that conflict goes back many hundreds of years.
So does many of these other
Trump.
conflicts.
But even, let me ask you these questions, this question about these other conflicts that you named. Were those part of the 2024 campaign? Did
Not
anyone ever
necessarily, but I
mention
don't think that.
Right, but you know why? Because they're completely trivial, and because the role that the United States plays in them is also essentially trivial as well. These are and a lot, we can analyze those, but let's be clear. The real question is, does President Trump make war for the United States? Whether he plays some ancillary role in this, well, we're in a major war.
Well, so let's
we're in a
clarify
major
two
war
things.
now,
So when it
right?
came to
We're in a
Venezuela-
major war, aren't we? In Iran?
I mean, sure, we're in a conflict, but I don't think this is where you actually got it wrong.
Is it a war? Is it a war?
You can call it's a war and a conflict. There's no necessary there's no disagreement there. It's a conflict and a war. It's both, right? But the conflict didn't start recently, right? In 1979, Iran kidnapped 66 Americans and held them hostage for over 400 days, right? So
why did they do that?
Happened because they're anti-Western. But hold on, just let me finish this. So the conflict with Iran, or our issues with Iran, in reference to specifically the Islamic Republic, started more there. In 1982, 3 years later specifically, there was the Beirut barracks bombing, which I'm sure you're familiar with, where 242 Americans were killed in Beirut. They were there as a peacekeeping force, actually. And guess who specifically? I believe in 2002, a federal judge actually ruled that Iran supplied Hezbollah and gave them intelligence to kill 242 Americans. On top of that, I believe in Venezuela, they have the Quds Force as well that is there. They fund 3 main terror groups. According to the FDD, they spent about $16 billion doing so, right? Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen. And by the way, the last guy, you were also wrong. $200 billion worth of economic damage in reference to the Red Sea, where 1/10 of trade goes through.
Were we at war with Iran when President Trump was inaugurated?
No, we weren't directly in
Are we
in
at
terms
war
of,
now?
Right, so I
he
think
made
I would,
that
I
war,
would say,
right?
wait, hold on, stop.
No,
So
I
I'd say
mean,
that
you talked a lot. I just
I
want
would
to get
say
an
that
answer.
we're already in a conflict. I would say that yes, generally, not like war in terms of declaring war conspicuously, but yes, we've been in a conflict, a long-standing conflict.
The proposition
specifically.
is President Trump is more of a war-making
Right,
president.
I don't think any of those conflicts were made by Trump. That's where you're wrong.
India and Pakistan were in conflict prior to the war that you mentioned,
and
right?
we were in conflict with Iran.
Exactly. There are a lot of people who are. There are a lot of countries that are in conflict with one another.
Right.
They're not all at war. Most of them are not at war. The United States became in a war with Iran when Israel and the United States announced that they were attacking Iran and started a war with Iran. Of course, there's conflicts. There's conflicts between Brazil and Argentina.
Sure.
There's conflicts between Peru and Uruguay. There's conflicts between.
You're being vague.
I'm being very specific. I'm talking about a war.
So there's a difference between smaller conflicts or like a general conflict that's going on for a long time and like a large scale war, and even like, for example, small military engagements. Like, for example, Midnight Hammer, we bombed Natanz, Fordow, and Isfahan, were more smaller engagements, right? And by the way, we pulled out pretty quickly and everything was fine afterwards.
If Russia came to the United States and bombed 3 different nuclear facilities in the United States with B-52 bombers of the Russian Soviet analog, would you consider that to be an act of war?
Yeah, you're saying it would be casus belli, right?
I'm not
casus
talking about
belli means act of war.
Yeah, would you?
So it would be casus belli. That's the answer.
Okay, congratulations on using Latin.
Right.
I'm just wanting to. I don't want to necessarily test your language. That would be an act of war, right?
Yeah, the same way. Hold on. The same way that, for example, the IRGC, the Pakistani guy that was recently convicted, he admitted that the IRGC paid him and tried to give him intelligence to assassinate Donald Trump around the time where Butler happened. That's also casus belli.
Were we at war with Iran?
The fact that the IRGC tried to kill our president.
Were we at war with Iran?
The electorate elected
were we at war
is
with
an act
Iran?
of war.
Were we
so
at war?
We've been in conflict and an act of war with Iran for a very long time.
Okay, but you just,
and it's funny that you're not mentioning. You're not mentioning the fact that 242 Americans were killed in Beirut in 1982.
The United States has killed countries throughout the Middle East. You know what President Reagan did in response to that? He said the reason this happened is because we have a military base in Lebanon where we shouldn't be, and he withdrew those troops. That's because he knew that the reason we were being attacked was because we were interfering in that region.
Yeah, we were there.
The reason that Iran took over and the embassy was because we had overthrown their democratically elected government.
Oh my God, he is cooking. Oh my God, this is why I said it's so wonderful to have Glenn Greenwald do this. Like, this is one of those things where he's the best at. He's the best at this.
In 1953 and imposed a savage, brutal tyranny on them that ruled that country from 1953 until the revolution in 1979.
Sure.
But these are all historically interesting points that we could talk about with the justification. No, it's not wrong. The point is, I asked you earlier, was the United States at war with Iran?
The answer is yes.
But you said no. And
it depends on how you're defining war. It depends on how you're defining war in long-term conflict. But let me hold on.
The point is, we were not at war, as you said the first time when I asked you, with Iran when President Trump took off.
He's the only person who's making people actually respond to the problem instead of just spouting their bullshit. I mean, there are young people supporting this. I mean, these are paid. These are paid people, so it's not the same as, like, you know, a random guy that you find in the wild. But I'm sure there's some young people who are dumb enough. This guy is at least like halfway competent. He's like halfway intelligent. Like, he knows certain facts. He's not just up there being like, oh, what is a war? Right? So he has at least some information. Like, he knows, it's clear he's a nerd, right? He dropped the FDD statistics, which is, again, an Israeli cutout. But it goes to show you that he's at least capable of reading. Half of these guys are illiterate. He's not. But again, he's wrong. Like, he's just wrong because the prompt is 100% correct. It's like not even debatable. There's nothing you can debate about it.
Sure.
He didn't talk about there being a war throughout
No,
the
he talked about
2011,
2011,
and we are now
2013.
in a
Like
war.
all you can do is try to re-identify the terms and say, well, it's not a war, it's a conflict, and it's a broader conflict, and it's not. It's not. Would you say that Barack Obama ended the Iran quote unquote conflict with a war, or did he actually do that through peace? The answer is he ended it through the diplomatic process. That's the difference.
And by the way,
I know it's hard to find any American examples of like waging not war but peace, but that's at least one that you can point to from recent history.
He continued
made a
said
war
Iran
with
cannot
Iran.
have a nuclear weapon. By the way, can you explain to me the reason for 60% rich uranium? No country that has tried to, or even been in talks of trying to get a nuclear weapon,
Because President Trump
has ever reached 60% and not gotten to 90%,
because
which is
President
weapons
Trump
grade. That's never, ever
invalidated
happened,
the
by way.
agreement where they were only at 3%. President Trump make this war.
No, that's not. The answer is no.
So
This
we
has
were
been
at- we were
has
at-
been a general.
we
yes,
were at
we
war,
have been
but-
we have been at a general conflict with Iran, or you could say even a war. For
I am saying
over
war.
47 years.
And President Trump just forgot to mention that we were at war when he was running for president in 2024. Never said, hey, by the way, we're at war with Iran.
He openly said, no. He's been very conspicuous about this. He's been very clear about the fact that we have a conflict with Iran. We have issues with Iran.
a
They
war.
tried to
We
kill
do
him.
have conflict.
Right. Again, I don't think you understand it. Wars can also be conflicts.
Exactly,
So I
but
don't know why you keep
but
saying-
conflicts aren't
Right.
necessarily wars. The question is,
Yes.
was there a war with Iran? And if so, why didn't President Trump bother to mention, hey, by the way, we're
He's
at
been
war
very
with Iran in
conspicuous about it.
2024, and
He's been
here's
very conspicuous about it.
So the
I'm
war
not-
didn't
what
start-
would be the incentive? Just like, hey, we're at war with Iran. Look, everyone understands that we've been at a long-term
Nobody
conflict
understood
with
because it was
Iran.
never true. It
No,
was- we
and by
weren't
the
at
way,
war.
We got to pause here. Can we just hear your response and then we got to stop?
Yeah,
there?
there were several wars that President Trump started in Yemen, Venezuela, and Iran. You can say they're just or not, but these wars did not exist. Nobody said they existed during the 2024 campaign, including President Trump. And when he announced
2011
them,
Yemen
he
civil
announced
war
them
that happened?
as with the
we
United
gotta
States in
stop with him now.
2024. All right.
All right.
Dude learned conspicuous yesterday. I hate all these other debaters just emulate Charlie Kirk's methods, talk fast, talk confidently and loud, and bombard with lies. I mean, that's just that's a consistent thing. It's not just Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk didn't invent that method. Also, what's up with this guy also becoming a suit and tie guy? I see this.
Pause.
Good to talk to you. Hello, how are you? Good to meet you.
Talk to you. Nice to meet you too. Okay, so I want to get back to the prompt about peace versus war. So the way I look at it is the first Trump administration was a peaceful administration. There was no new wars that were started, right? We have the Abraham Accords, which Trump should have won a Nobel Peace Prize for because it was historic. And then we had some.
I mean, you could make the argument that the Abraham Accords was an attempt at peace. I'll take it. It just failed. It actually directly led to October 7. So it was a spectacular failure, but it was an attempt at peacemaking nonetheless, which is different than war making. Right? Right? Yeah, it was a historic failure. That's what the Abraham Accords were.
Something that was ahistoric, right? So the Biden administration came in between. It kind of disrupted Trump's foreign policy. And under the Biden.
What? Oh my God. Oh my God. Am I hearing this right? If there's one thing you can say about Joe Biden's foreign policy, it was a direct continuation of Donald Trump. A direct continuation of Donald Trump. Down to the pullout in Afghanistan. That was Donald Trump's policies that Biden actually committed to. He did not change course on Cuba. Every single thing that Donald Trump destroyed, every single signature foreign policy accomplishment of the administration prior, where Joe Biden was literally the vice president, Donald Trump destroyed it. Joe Biden never restored it. That is ridiculous. Biden didn't continue, lol. He made things worse. And that Afghanistan take is completely misleading. Really? Is it? Oh my God. Do we have a hog in here? Because that's awesome. Oh my God, we do. It didn't fail. It built Saudi relations. Oh my God, we do have a hog in here. That's awesome. This has been a long time. Because usually the hogs that we get aren't hogs. They're not real hogs. You know what I mean? They're often just like Asmongold cockroaches. So they don't have any investment in politics at all. So I love seeing... Please don't run away. This is awesome. Chatter, we love you. Hog ad hominems, nice. No. I say this lovingly. Please. I say this lovingly. We love right wingers in here. Okay. Anyway, hog ad hominem's nice. I'm not even right wing. You're not right wing. You just think I'm a constitutionalist. Yes. Yes. A constitutionalist. Okay. What do you think about Donald Trump then? Oh God, this is so awesome. Do you think Donald Trump is following the spirit of the Constitution? Or just following the Constitution at all? Or is that more of a malleable thing for you? Oh God, we haven't had one of these guys in a long time. Come on, I asked the question, just answer it. I didn't vote for Trump law. He's going after the WTO, NWO, globalist elites bounce around between countries, and he is fighting those corrupt structures. Why is it that people who like Trump are so embarrassed to admit it in this community? I like Trump, dude. Just say you love Trump. What do you mean he's fighting against the WTO and NWO? You think that Cuba will fall next? You think Cuba is a part of the New World Order? Is that what you think is going on? One of the poorest countries on the planet that we have directly starved for 6 years is a part of the New World Order. You don't even call out the real Trump dirt. You say the same stuff as MSM. Really? Mainstream media is saying that Benjamin Netanyahu shoved fingers so far up Trump that he's basically moving his mouth for him. That's a mainstream media perspective. What mainstream media channel are you watching? That, by the way, these used to be a substitute for Jews, right? The W2O New World Order, like, oh, it's the Jews that are controlling everything. And Donald Trump is the #1 defender of Israel. Robert Mercer, Stephen Breitbart, Bannon, etc. No, I shit on Bannon all the time. The f*** are you talking about? Breitbart. Stephen Breitbart? Who the f*** is Stephen Breitbart? You mean Steve Bannon and Andrew Breitbart? Who's dead, by the way? Breitbart's dead. Robert Mercer. Don't scare them away. Yeah, I know. I know. I should be nicer. This guy's awesome. He may believe he faked his death. Yeah, Breitbart did die on a toilet. He's a Tucker enjoyer? No. Anyone who thinks Donald Trump is going after the WTO and the NWO is an idiot of the highest magnitude. Donald Trump is a slave to capital. And these are mere, well, NWO is just bullshit anyway. But like what you think is the New World Order is the Old World Order. It's just capitalism. Okay? And no, mainstream media does not say those things. You, unfortunately, are stupid enough to believe that it does. Many right-wingers cope with the reality that their ideology is perhaps best expressed by liberal outlets. You blame Israel for everything and fail to recognize that they are under plausible deniability by the USA after World War II when Britain and France gave up Middle Eastern control slowly but surely. I blame Israel for everything. No, I blame America for everything. But there are certain instances where Israel is also at fault. What? Dude, I'm trying to understand. Mainstream media does say the stuff that you say. Really? Like what? You blame America but live here? Oh, America's blameless. My bad. I didn't realize America the beautiful, America the great. It's blameless. Yeah, America's small bean nation. You use capitalism and yet act different? All right, brother. All right, buddy. Hypocrisy. I know. Yes, I should be living in a mountainside. Just living off the land. Capitalism is all encompassing. It's the global organization of the economy. It's impossible to live outside of capitalism. Close the window. You can't handle it. All right. Now I have to call this guy, right? You're a embarrassed Trump supporter. You can't even say that you like Donald Trump. You're like, I don't even like Trump. I'm not even right wing. I'm a constitutionalist. I don't even like Trump, but he's also going after the WTO and the NWO. To say that about Donald Trump is laughable. Are you American is the real question. Echo chambers chatters can't even lol. Okay, you're starting to fucking annoy me because I don't like the air of self importance that you've designed around yourself. You still think I'm a Trump supporter, Lamau, just by being aware? Dog, you are not aware of anything. You have identified, and I will admit this, a very interesting point to like Trump on. And I say it's interesting because it's insane. It's batshit crazy. You're not aware of anything. You've just figured out a way to try to say that you like Donald Trump without saying that you like Donald Trump and then claim you're a communist, Marxist, social support. Yes, I am. What's the point? What's the problem? Okay. What? Do you think that this is a community where that's just a automatic pejorative? Exactly. So hypocrisy. Explain to me how you can exist in a capitalist society without actually existing in a capitalist society. There is no world. There is no like socialist world out there. There's no communist society out there that I'm like choosing not to participate in. Okay. Why exist in a capitalist society? Okay. Where's the communist society? Is it Cuba? Is that what you're saying? Oh, if you like communism so much, why don't you go live in Cuba? A country that we're destroying the economy of, a country that we're about to bomb, that you personally said is next. You know, you're in your anti-New World Order agenda. Where is the communist society? Also, I'm sure there are plenty of things you disagree with respect to the United States of America, or at least Donald Trump. That doesn't mean you leave America or Donald Trump behind and go somewhere else, right? Almost like a Jehovah's Witness going into an atheist event. Communism is the goal. That's your words. Yeah, and we're not there. So what do you mean? I'm advancing those goals. So there is no hypocrisy there, to the best of my ability within the confines of this system. This guy isn't American. Yeah, I don't think this guy's American. We should be there. We shouldn't be there. Okay, well, I think we should. What now? Have you noticed that you haven't made a single coherent point thus far beyond why haven't you pressed the communism button? Why haven't you invented communism and then go live there? Oh, and now you're talking about communism will just have people killing each other for the top. Oh, what? Unlike capitalism? What kind of speculation is this? Communism will have people killing each other at the top. Do we have communism? No, we don't. So you're just inventing an alternative here to say it's bad. This hypothetical alternative system will be bad. Why? Because I decided it will be. Because it only bad things. Communism means bad things. Capitalism means good things. What now, libtard? That's your argument. You argue like a child. More secret groups to control regions in the country. What? Okay, I'm done. Secret groups. What the
administration, we saw the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, which was really a green light to our anti-Western adversaries that we didn't really.
Like a handful of billionaires literally run the goddamn country and perhaps the entire world. And this dumb, a secretive group is going to be controlling a communist society. You're literally just inventing shit in your mind. I hope you understand that. You're just saying this alternative system will be bad. Why? Well, because I think it will be bad. There is no productive argument to be had here. Okay? Foreign billionaires aren't the same as American billionaires? Wait, what the Yes, they are. What are you talking about? The number one American billionaire is Elon Musk. The are you talking about? Billionaires have no loyalty to a nation, you idiot. Unless you're talking about Chinese billionaires, in which case they do, because they're party members. That's pretty much it. I think this guy's an anti-Semite. No, I don't even think he's an anti-Semite. He said, you blame everything on Israel. Take the billionaires out of American society, then taxes go up for all Americans, moron. Really? What's the greatest period of American prosperity by your estimation, chatter? Quick answer. Come on. When was America truly great? Donald Trump says, make America great again. When do you think America made the most noticeable improvements, whether it be developing American infrastructure, or whether it be just developing America in general? When was the most prosperous time for American history? He doesn't know he's from the EU. Bro's going to say pre-1865. Yeah, okay. All right, let's just get back to the video while this guy boots up his chat GPT.
Defend U.S. hegemony abroad, following that, the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. And then
also, that guy's definitely not American.
And we saw Biden trying to re-engage in JCPOA negotiations as a legacy of the Obama administration. And he unfroze $16 billion in assets to the regime and then also waived sanctions so they could sell over $100 billion. Whose assets were those? They're theirs, but they're frozen.
Iran's assets.
Correct, but that's going against the maximum pressure campaign. So if you don't want war, how do you then deter a belligerent actor if it's not maximum sanctions? What would your solution be then? Let them.
In general, in every other country on the planet except the United States and Israel, war is talked about as a last resort, something that you engage in only if there's a country that's attacking you, or attacking your homeland, or attacking. What's that?
So the sanctions are a legacy of the Iraq-Iran war in the 1980s. So which war? We're talking about the current operation, which is not a war.
I'm talking about why we should be at war with Iran at all.
Right, the second.
And you're saying, what is it that we should be doing to Iran?
I'm saying my point with talking about the Biden regime, the Biden administration, was that they empowered, we could maybe use regime, they empowered the Iranian regime diplomatically, financially, which then positioned them for October 7th. And also the Houthis, it is true, the Houthis blocked off the Suez Canal for 4 to 5 months. We also had British military naval ships in the region, US military ships. So they weren't just attacking Israel, although yes, that was a part of it. So we saw a destabilized Middle East because of the direct empowerment.
Let me just, it's interesting.
Okay, we did see a destabilized Middle East. It's true. Directly as a consequence of the Abraham Accords. Straight up. Abraham Accords were to formalize already cooled or normalized relations with the Gulf states without factoring in Palestinians into the equation. That's why October 7 happened, simply put. So, yeah, Trump's peacemaking efforts, guess what, also led to war. Shocking.
Because I think there's a very American perspective because we are a country that is constantly at war, unlike everybody else on the planet. The last time China fought a war was 1979, and one of the reasons they're displacing the United States and every region in the globe, including Latin America and Africa, is because they spend their resources building up their country while we have our country deteriorating because we spend so much time and money and effort and resources on foreign wars.
The other take is that they don't have the conventional capabilities to enact a
They have a massive, gigantic military. They just don't. They just know that, which is what, by the way, which was what President Trump's primary political appeal was that we're constantly fighting these foreign wars. We have to stop fighting foreign wars in the Middle East so that we can focus on our own communities and our own country. And here we are back in another one. But I think the point about Iran is that the idea that we can just go and steal countries' money. As you said, it's Iran's assets. They have oil in their country. Let me just finish. They sell their oil to other countries. They receive money for it. We take that money using our dollar as the reserve currency. We steal it and freeze it. And then somehow, I should also say that President Trump just lifted sanctions on Iranian oil at sea, enabling them to get huge amounts of money.
It was a good faith
action
for China.
No, it was because he needed to do that because we need oil on the global market because of oil, because gas prices are so high.
It's still lower than it was under the Biden administration.
No, I'm saying that because of this war, President Trump lifted sanctions on Iranian oil at sea.
Yes, as
they
a
are now
goodwill to China
charging
to
money.
bring it to the
They are now
negotiation
charging money for the Strait of Hormuz, and
yes,
the key to, and there's no
left.
way there will be an end to this war that we're currently negotiating unless the sanctions are lifted on Iran.
They're completely wiped out at the knee. Let me just get back to what I was saying about the Biden administration because it's important. So we look at how diplomacy has never worked. The JCPOA completely empowered the regime. Same thing with Biden again. So Trump came into a region that was completely changed. Also, just
what do you mean the JCPOA completely empowered the regime? Again, what's it to you? Like this argument is a complete misnomer. What do you? Oh, okay. It solidified the regime. All right. So why do you care? We're American. I don't know if she is, but as Americans, if we have a goal and that goal that we've decided is to stop the nuclear grade enriched uranium, like the uranium enrichment program, if that's the goal as Americans, then yeah, Barack Obama did that with the JCPOA. What is this? Your chat message was too long. He got FOSSA-botted. I'm American. I'm Texan. Hispanic. Oh, God. Third generation. Nice prediction on assuming me again. Wrong again on your assumptions. Interesting how you label people so fast. Does that help your base or voice? Not like this method you go by is converting people in a good way. You're using the engagement algorithm because you know divisive politics keeps engagement high. Oh my God. I asked you a question. I said, what period was America the greatest? Okay. And you said it's always great, but its potential was staggered, which is a non-answer because you know that the answer is the post-war economy, post-World War II, where America basically was a functionally, centrally planned economy with robust social safety nets, robust social expenditure, and on top of that, incredibly high top marginal tax rates. And guess what? There were no billionaires back then. That was the most prosperous America had been. Now, of course, there were a lot of social issues, right? There were a lot of social problems, but as far as our progressive tax system goes, that was the best. Billionaires are not necessary for prosperity. Billionaires are the ones by way of their controlled media apparatus convince dumb like you to vote against your best interest. Okay, that's the problem. You've been duped, but you think you're brilliant. That's the difference between you and I. I know I'm stupid. You don't. Okay? You have convinced yourself that you have access to hidden truths, and you keep regurgitating dumber and dumber things in this chat. Just like you think I engage in divisive politics because I know it gets me clicks. It's very stupid. I've had these exact same opinions since I started when I had 30 people watching me. Okay? You don't want things to be solved, or else you would run for office instead of waiting time, live streaming, arguing with anyone's opinions. Okay, wrong on that part as well. Guess what? I have a lot more impact. I answered, you didn't like it. No, you didn't answer. You can't say it was always great, okay? You can't say it was always great. That's not an answer. It's a cop-out. And secondly, the reason why I'm not running, but instead helping other candidates run, is because I can actually have a lot more impact this way than hyper focusing on one race alone. That's it. Oh, no billionaires back then because economics were different, lol. That can be quantifiable across different time eras. Okay. Adjusted to wealth disparity. A time of unprecedented economic instability was the Gilded Age. We have worse wealth disparity now than we did back then. That was the closest. The robber baron period was the closest to the current period of the American economy. And it wasn't fucking great for development back then. It led to the Great Depression. So perhaps you don't even have to be a socialist to recognize that wealth consolidation, power consolidation by American billionaires or American robber barons isn't necessarily good for American prosperity at all. Who do you endorse on the left in Utah in the midterms? Nate Bluin. Anyway, it was always great after the Civil War. Okay.
Globally, right? I believe the Iranian regime bought 2.5 million acres in Venezuela, which is in our Western Hemisphere. So he came into a world where our anti-Western adversaries had gained strategic holdings that hinder U.S. hegemony abroad. So he went into the region and he said, okay, I'm going to negotiate with the Iranian regime. They didn't come as good faith actors to the negotiation table. Operation Midnight Hammer was a preemptive strike. They still continue to come to the table.
Was Biden at war with Iran?
I would say, yeah, it's hard to be at war with a regime that you're funding.
So Biden was not at war with Iran?
Well, we were at war with Iran via Israel, if you want to look at it as a proxy situation.
So Biden was fighting a war against Iran?
And also another thing, you keep saying that Trump started wars in Yemen,
I'm trying to
in
figure out
Lebanon. But those are proxy wars funded by Iran.
Was
those
the United States at war
existed way before President Trump came into
Was Biden
office.
waging a war against Iran?
He was funding the regime and empowering them.
Okay,
so the answer is no. It's really hard to wage war against a regime that
exactly.
you're
So the war
propping
in
up.
Iran was started by President Trump in the second term,
The war
correct?
in Iran is First off, it's not a war. It's an operation. We have highly discriminately taken out
What
heads
would
of
be
the
a war
IRGC.
be?
I mean, the it's not a war, it's an operation is really funny. Okay. Would you consider it if the Chinese government decapitated our head of state, decapitated not just the head of state, but also the top of the branch, the entire leadership structure of the American military, and also blew up a bunch of schools on the way and murdered a bunch of little girls going to school? Would you consider that China waging war against Iran, or would you go, oh, guys, it's fun. It's just a special military operation? Yeah, Ukraine, is that a special military operation or is that a war? She has to be Israeli? I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. Maybe she is.
How is it not a war?
Well, it's not a war because the Iranian regime
We're
can't
blowing up
respond
their
in a way
bridges.
that
We're
necessitates
blowing up
war.
their bridges.
Yes, it's an
We're
operation.
blowing up their,
and they've been blowing up the Middle East.
What's the difference between a war and
since,
No, I'm just trying, again, the proposition we're supposed to be discussing.
Right,
and I
he's
realize why
war-making.
you don't want to and others don't want to is
No, I am. I'm demonstrating how the regime was empowered when Trump came to office, so it necessitated a response that was different than his first administration when there was peace through strength.
You have to let me finish. What the question we're supposed to be debating
Which
is
I
that
answered.
President Trump is more of a war-making president
And I
than a
just said he
peacemaking
came
president.
into a situation in the Middle East that was vastly different than the one that he
No,
left
I
because
understand.
of
I
weak
understand.
foreign
I'm
policy.
trying to ask about war,
Okay, so
which
no,
is
what is the response then? So if it's not high pressure,
was
sanction
President
maximum-
Biden waging a war on Iran? Yes or no?
Well, if you're talking about responding
Can you just
to all,
answer that? Why
so
can't
then
you
yes,
answer?
If Iran is considered the Houthis, the Hezbollah, Hamas, then yes, we
President
were waging
Biden
a war.
was waging a war on
yes,
Iran.
via our
I
proxies.
thought you said he was so favorable to Iran, that he
I
was
said
treating
he
Iran
empowered
so
the
well.
regime. Yeah, both sides of the conflict, but he empowered the regime.
Were we at war not with Iran's proxies, but with Iran itself under
well,
Joe Biden?
Iran actually broke the status quo of not engaging with Israel, our greatest ally, in May of
Did Joe
2024.
Biden wage a war on Iran?
It's not. First off, again,
Why
I
can't
am
you just
contesting-
answer? Why can't you just
I just
answer?
said yes. If you're going to consider via proxies, which
No,
you
I'm not. I don't
apparently-
mean via proxy. I mean
Well,
directly
you
with
said,
Iran.
Okay, but you're contradicting yourself because you said Trump started wars
I'm
in
only
Yemen,
asking a
and you defined it by the
question.
proxies
I'm only
in
asking a
Yemen. So you can't
question.
define war one way for Trump
I'm
and
only
not
asking
by
a
Pause there. We
question.
got to pause there. We're out of time. Please return to your seat. Raise your flag if you would concede that Trump started this current war with Iran. Okay, so we got two people.
Oh my God, dude, it's insane.
Thank you.
My next round of claim is President Trump is subservient to the Israel lobby.
Yes!
If you'd like to debate this claim, please get to the chair in 3, 2.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Oh my God.
Whoa.
Hey, good to meet you.
Ryan, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
How to make it exciting. Thank you, Mattel.
Dude, these are fucking banger premises. It's just how do you argue against that?
Okay, I think important thing to do with debates is to define our terms. Can you please tell me what subservient is?
Yes. serving the interest of someone else, taking orders from somebody else, taking direction from somebody else, not in every case, but as a general posture ethos.
Okay, so that's already a problem because subservient doesn't mean not sometimes taking the case, sometimes not. Subservient is literally defined as in a subordinate manner you are controlled by in a very direct way.
You want to set it up so that if you can point to one example where President Trump didn't do what Israel wanted, then that means somehow he's not subservient to Israel. That's,
Sure, right
you're
now.
just want to creating a binary framework where as long as you can point to one example
I can
where
point
the
to many
Israelis
examples,
wanted
actually.
something. Right. So that's why I'm saying that is not what this proposition means. It doesn't mean that in each and every case, President Trump is
Right.
fully and absolutely obedient to Israel. If you want me to concede that there are instances, I will be happy to point to some as well
Not
where
conceding
President Trump or
instances.
other
Okay,
presidents.
you're
So
gift galloping.
that's not the question.
I understand. I'm saying that your claim, it's your claim. I didn't force you to make the claim. Your claim is not
I like that we can't even have a conversation about like he immediately came in with like define the term. This seems bad. Love your show. Please come my transmission soon. I would also love to do your podcast. Asmongold says he might be doing Alex Jones soon. Oh hell yeah. It's an incredible collab. I love that. Hell, they should. Crank Central, baby.
there's high influence. Your claim is not any of that. Your claim is he's subservient. And if you're going to say he's subservient, that means something. Now, if we want to change what you're saying and you just want to say he has higher influence from, when you say pro-Israeli, do you just mean Jews? What do you mean by that?
No, of course I don't mean Jews. There are huge numbers of Jews who oppose Israel.
I'm asking.
Glenn Greenwald is Jewish. His answer is so funny. Look at his face.
Subservient. And if you're going to say he's higher influence from, when you say pro-Israeli, do you just mean Jews? What do you mean by that?
No, of course I don't mean Jews. There are huge numbers of Jews who oppose Israel.
I'm asking.
Oh, God. It's so stupid. Bro, you told me these nerd-ass Republicans went extinct? This guy's one of the dozen Shapiro fans left? I mean, these are all influencers. They're not representative of the broader Republican movement.
Well, generally, when I debate this topic, a lot of people will say, like, you know, the Adelsons, right? Because they're Jewish, they're Israeli. Or do you mean pro-Israel, like you're talking about AIPAC, you're talking about J Street?
People talk about George Soros, but nobody suggests that he's pro-Israel. The reason people talk about the Adelsons is because they gave 300.
To be fair, George Soros is kind of pro-Israel, but like, you know, liberal Zionist style. I don't think he's like, I wouldn't say George Soros is anti-Israel. Or at least he's not anti-Israel like, you know, like, yeah, in comparison to Sheldon Adelson, sure, he's basically Hamas. But in comparison to, you know, someone like myself or just like the average anti-Zionist, I would say that the Soros Foundation their position is definitely very critical of Israel, but not like, they're more like a J Street type. Anyway, that wasn't Glenn's point at all.
$300 million to Trump's campaigns, and Trump himself said that every time the Adelsons came to the White House, they didn't ask about the United States, they asked for things for Israel. Trump went to the Knesset last year and said Miriam Adelson loves Israel more than they love the United States.
Is Trump subservient to Elon Musk?
No, I don't think Trump is subservient to
Elon Musk, at least in this last election cycle, gave significantly more than the Adelsons.
Right, he's one individual. He's one individual.
Exactly. One individual gave more than two, and also the lobbying groups. But that being said, what is it that makes you think he's controlled in at least a significant way by whatever you're saying?
What President Trump himself said. President Trump said that every single time Sheldon Adelson came to the White House, they asked for things for Israel, and he gave it to them. They didn't ask for things for the United States. He said that Miriam Adelson.
He didn't say he gave everything they asked for.
Yes, he did. He said
no.
He said every time. He said in
that they did. At the Israeli-American Council Summit, Trump said of the Adelsons, as soon as I'd give them something, always for Israel, as soon as I'd give them something they'd want, something else, but I gave them the Golan Heights and they never Golan Heights. I don't know why that G looks like a C. And they never even asked for it.
In fact,
the Golan Heights.
They asked. He gave them even things that they didn't ask for Israel, not for the United States.
He did not tell them times where they had talks where they disagree. He never talked about that. I know exactly which quote you're talking about. You're adding that in to push your narrative right now.
No, I'm not adding anything. But that being said,
we're not here to talk about.
Wait, no, but that is the narrative. What do you mean? The point he's making is President Trump is subservient to the Israel lobby. This is a point in favor of President Trump. This is a point demonstrating President Trump's subservience to the Israel lobby. What do you mean? Oh, I don't like the point you're making because it undermines my position, so please don't make it? Like, what are you saying? Wow. I can't believe you said a factually accurate thing to justify your premise and ruined my argument. That's not allowed. Why would you say truthful things that happen to support your claim, sir?
Just the Adelsons are here to talk about the pro-Israel lobby.
Wait, are the Adelsons not a formative part of the pro-Israel lobby? What are we talking about? What's next? Is Haim Saban not a part of the pro-Israel lobby because he's a Democrat? What are we doing? What is this conversation?
Asking you, how do you know that they are controlling Trump at least in a significant enough way to whatever your claim means?
What I'm saying is that President Trump makes decisions in the interest of the Israeli people and the Israeli.
Does this guy think Israel's part of the U.S.? I mean, he's a truther. He's the 51st state enjoyer like me. Our movement is growing, chat. It's growing. There's more and more every day. There's dozens of us that believe Israel is a part of the United States of America and is a state, except the most important state, like way more important than Montana. Sorry, Montana. Israel is far more important than you.
Government over and above the American people, and it's the only country for which that's true. That is subservience. Okay, we can go back to the semantic definition, but that is what I mean.
Yeah, he's about to be like, excuse me, let's define the terms. What is Israel? Excuse me, define the terms. What is President and Trump? Define the terms. What is a lobby? I mean, he did do that. He was like, what do you mean by the Israeli lobby? Do you mean J Street, AIPAC? Everything. It's everything.
And there's so many instances where President Trump has taken steps, and right now his entire focus is on a country that is Israel's primary adversary, that Israel has wanted for decades the United States to go in and change the regime.
I understand the hyperbole. His entire focus is not on that, but I get it. But my question for you
I would hope it is.
His entire focus is on that. Well, I guess not. He's right. His focus is shifted elsewhere right now. Ballroom. Eugene Carroll. Yeah, this is Ballroom, $250 bill with his face on it. Reflective pool in DC. Kennedy Center not being named the Trump Kennedy Center. So he has some other shit that he's worried about. But you know what he's not worried about? Inflation.
It's a very dangerous war. He should be.
Your argument, you trying to prove your argument's failing because what you're saying is that he is just giving everything they want as if
I didn't say that.
Actually, you literally said that. You said he gave everything they want.
I said at the start, I would
rewind the clip.
I said at the start, if you want to prove that there are times when Trump doesn't give everything to Israel, I would concede that it's not a binary absolute framework.
I'm trying to get my question.
Do you remember when I said that?
I do remember when you said that, and I remember when you contradicted yourself a few seconds later.
What did I say when I contradicted myself?
I already said this point, but here's the problem. When he said that people go in, we want this, and he's like, I don't really agree with that. It's like, well, we'll give you some more money. He's like, okay, I agree with it now. How do you know Trump doesn't just already align with the same ideology?
The reason I know is because President Trump spent a full decade promising people like you and everyone else who voted for him that he was not going to involve the United States in more Middle East wars, in more regime change wars. That is the basis and foundation for Trump's entire political movement. Israel comes to the United States, and there's no way to compare Israel to any other country. Netanyahu came 7 times. No other world leader came twice. We give billions and billions of dollars to Israel. I thought I let you talk, and yet...
Which ally has had the level of access that Benjamin Netanyahu has? Which ally has actually given, throughout numerous administrations, bipartisan State of the Union to Congress? Who's delivered speeches to Congress? Multiple occasions. No, 7 times is just Trump 2. That's only what we're talking about. Which there's no comparison. There's no other country, okay? There's no other country. Which ally has received $380 billion total dollars from the United States of America? Which ally has caused the United States of America to wage war with not 1, not 2, but 3 aircraft carriers against another country that has collapsed the entire energy markets? There is no comparison. There's no comparison. You can't hide behind vague generalities to be like, oh, Israel's just an ally. Israel's just a small bean.
You sit there and say, let me talk, and then I get 6 words out, and can't control yourself.
Go ahead, Glenn.
So there's no comparison. We give infinitely more money to Israel. We deploy our military forces to protect Israel. President Netanyahu, Prime Minister Netanyahu came 7 times, and then when he was done coming, Donald Trump turns around and does exactly what he's been promising for.
Also, Benjamin Netanyahu was never done coming, okay? He comes inside of Trump every time he's here, and he will never stop out of Trump. No, that's not poor phrasing. Glenn's right. And Trump loves it. And he says, thank you, Mr. President. You're the real president.
For a decade that he wouldn't do, which is he goes to war in the Middle East, a regime change war in the Middle East against Israel's primary enemy after Netanyahu spent 30 years saying, this is what we want the United States to do. That is how I know that President Trump does things that Israel tells him to, even though he doesn't already believe it.
Well, first off, that's actually not proof that he does. That's just an indication that you might be right, but I'm going to correct your quote. Actually, President Trump said multiple times, just off the top of my head, I'm sure I'm missing some, he said multiple times that he doesn't want to go straight to military action with Iran, but he has made it very, very clear that if negotiations are exhausted, I will use the military option.
Were the negotiations exhausted? They weren't. They used perfidy. They used the cover of negotiations to attack Iran twice. First time it was Israel alone, and then, the United States of America joined in after the fact. And the second time, it was a collaborative effort. It's totally ridiculous. All right.
Game change?
Okay, first off, do you know what the 4 goals of the war are in Iran?
I'm asking you,
do you know what the 4 goals of the war are?
Did he ever,
what are they? Is it regime change?
They changed so many times.
No.
President Trump, there aren't 4 goals.
There has been 4 stated goals. You can go on the internet.
Oh my God, I've never seen Glenn get this mad during a debate. That's crazy. These guys are... Didn't they kill the negotiators? They did. And they killed also prominent figures within the Iranian government that were more willing, more pragmatic, and certainly more willing to negotiate with the Americans. Israel did that, like Largiani.
Right now to the official government website, and you will read the 4 goals. At the beginning of the war,
Trump, in an interview with the Washington Post, said, my main goal and why I'm attacking Iran is to free the Iranian people. Is that one of the 4 goals that that President Trump said was his most important objective when going to war with Iran?
I'm going to concede something. I agree with you that President Trump speaks in very grandiose measures. He does. I'm not going to. Everything's the biggest thing ever, the most beautiful thing ever. It's the worst thing ever. I'm not going to disagree.
That was a stated goal of the war.
No, it was not. If you listen to our Department of War, if you listen to our Department of War, and by the way, you can go on.
It's the president that determines the war objectives.
I understand. Okay,
it's not the Department of War. It's the president.
That's not true. I was in the military for 12 years. That's not actually particularly true.
Who was your commander in chief? The Secretary of Defense?
No, it's not.
It was the president, right?
No. First off, that's not how objectives are attained. You're right. He agrees with them or disagrees with them. And again, I agree. Trump will go on interviews and he will say stuff
who sets war goals for the United States?
Well, first off, it's actually a complex measure of how it goes out. Are you asking who agrees with the finalized goals?
When a war started, who determines what the goals of the war are?
Again, it's a very complex
measure. It's the president, correct?
Again, if you're saying agree with, he gets briefs, he gets people from the Pentagon.
Who's the final decision maker about the goals of the war?
That's the right question, and that would be the commander-in-chief.
The president, right?
Right. If you look at the official memo,
what wars are,
if you look at
what the president says.
I got it. If you look at the official memo that was signed by him, that was pushed out and still on the government website to this very day, you can read the main objectives of the war.
Has he said that regime change is one of the goals of the war?
I agree that he's implied it in interviews.
Has he said it explicitly?
In the official memos where he's
that our goal is to protect.
Let me ask you something.
Okay, we got to pause there.
You need to answer my question. Has Donald Trump said that a goal of the war in Iran is to free the Iranian people by changing the regime of that country, a regime change war in the Middle East of the kind he said he wouldn't fight? Did Donald Trump say that was a goal of the war or not?
I'm going to answer you.
One word answer.
Please.
I'm going to answer you.
One word answer, or we got to move on.
Real quick answer. One word. He said it in interviews. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm coming around to the Hasanabi position that debates are a waste of time. I mean, they would be a little bit more... Debates can be productive. I've talked about this before. It's a good way to release your talking points, humiliate the opposition, humiliate your interlocutors. It's a good way to make your side come across in a powerful way, and it's a good way to teach people the proper talking points are, so they can try and do the same when they talk to other people or debate other people. There's also the capacity to change people's minds in debate. If it's the 40-40-20 rule, 40% of your side is already on your side and they're not going to move. 40% of the opposition side is on the opposition side. They're not going to move, but 20%, 10 and 10 from both sides, give or take, are movable, right? And you can actually get the opposition's 10% onto your side if you actually convincingly humiliate your opponent. The problem is if the opposition does this secret hidden technique, which is yell and lie and get increasingly belligerent, then you can't have a productive conversation at all.
Prior to October 7th, America First, and it still means America First is having a strong ally in Israel.
What is it, John Fetterman? What? I got to run that back.
It still means prior to October 7th, America First, and it still means America First is having a strong ally in Israel.
Damn. We had Fetterman and now we got Fetterwoman, dude. What the They made a female version of John?
I find it very interesting, this disproportionate selective outrage with this pseudo-Israel influence, AIPAC.
Pseudo-Israel influence? What does that mean? Why is she using so many sentence modifiers? This makes no sense.
3.8 million compared to the billions of dollars from other foreign adversaries. You're talking about subservient. We have the Chamber of Commerce, we have Big Pharma, we have the Real Estate Association, all massively giving more funds to the lobbying world. The influence of Qatar alone, $1 billion on universities and media. Aren't you more concerned about that? Why do you never speak about the Qatari influence in America?
There's no comparing the influence of Qatar in the United States to Israel. And the proof of that is that we don't give $4 billion automatically a minimum every year to Qatar the way we do with Israel. This $3.8 billion that you said, much of which has to be spent at American arms manufacturers like Boeing and Raytheon, is like a gift certificate that the American public gives to Israel and says, here, go shopping for yourself at our arms dealers. There's no other country that gets that. We've given vastly more sums to Israel over the last several decades than any other country by far. We deploy our military for Israel. We don't do that for Qatar. President Trump has been imposing speech codes at universities to protect Israel and not for Qatar.
Yeah, we should be doing that for Qatar, honestly. He's right. Why aren't we doing that? It's the pearl of the Gulf. That's what I'm going to be advocating for going forward. Justice for Qatar. Okay? Doha impressed? Yeah. It's the pearl of the Gulf, dude. The f are we doing? They gave such a nice plane to Donald Trump. Why the won't Donald Trump reciprocate? Yeah, make Qatar the 51st state.
Who demonstrate against Israel are being deported, not for Qatar.
Okay.
And that the amount of money itself, 3.8 is the minimum. That $3.8 billion is the minimum. We gave over $20 billion under President Biden in 2024 to Israel.
You're not being honest.
These are all facts.
Yes, no, they are facts, but you're not saying the whole story.
What else?
Israel is the only country that actually gives us a return on investment. That $3.8 billion, yes, 80% of it is invested.
I'm sorry. The Saudi Arabia is right there, dude. That's crazy. The amount of money that these Gulf states spend in the United States of America for what? Some gear, some military gear they'll never use. And then this lady comes in and is like, oh, Israel gives so much in return for the American investment. Like what? Bringing us into further wars that we don't need to fight? What did we? So stupid.
Invested right back.
Glenn, have you heard of a thing called SodaStream? That's right. I rest my case, Your Honor. Have you heard of Waze?
Back into America jobs, American defense. And guess who tests out all of our military equipment? It's Israel, because they are in the front lines of our enemies. They are doing us a favor. We need Israel strategically, and we are grateful to have them as a strong ally.
The American people have turned against Israel because they're sick of having
no,
their
it's because
resources.
of propaganda that you're perpetuating on X. We didn't have an issue of this before October 7th.
If you look at American communities, they're falling apart. This was what President Trump.
This is Israel lobby's fault?
It's not entirely the Israel lobby's fault, but we ought to be focused.
Should we talk about Doge, the $215 billion in Doge? Maybe we should look at that.
The Israeli people have a higher standard of living than tens of millions of people in the United States, and yet they are forced.
What does that have to do with Americans?
Because Americans are forced to subsidize the Israeli military to send tens of billions of dollars to Israel to go to war for
now
Israel.
Tens of billions of dollars.
Yeah, I just told you in 2024 alone it was above $20 billion.
They were in a war.
Exactly. Every time Israel's always at war.
Every time? Israel has never asked for boots on the ground, and yes, they were in a war.
No, we pay for their wars. We pay for their wars. We pay for those wars
because it's to our interest that there is stability in the Middle East, because these are proxies to America as well.
With the wars that Israel starts create instability, not stability.
Sunday. Do not normalize terrorism and the Islamic Caliphate. Why are you so hyper-focused on our ally?
It's the same way that we started off the first question where people say, no, Trump doesn't make wars. And then, okay, Trump makes them, but they're justified. The point here is we do more for the Israeli lobby than any other country. You started off by saying, no, it's Qatar. And now you're saying, yes, we do more for Israel,
because
but
they're an ally,
it's justified.
with good reason.
A lot
it is justified.
Of course, they're an ally and they're an enemy. They spy on us. They steal
Just
our nuclear
like America
secrets.
Does.
They spy.
You're selectively.
Israel is.
Dude, it's so funny. Look, don't get mad at me for saying this, but she's definitely more pro-Israel than she is pro-America. Okay? Because right there, she literally gave the game away. I mean, obviously, that's the suspicion from the start. But she went, and so does America. Like, I'm sorry. Aren't you American? Like, that's crazy to say. She's like, yeah, and America actually over Israel by spying on Israel. It's really up what America did. It's disgusting. I hate America. They should give us more money. I mean, them, Israel, them. The other side, not the country I care about the most. I just happen to care about it because they're our reliable ally.
The number one surveillance threat against, not the way that Israel spies on the United States. When I did the Snowden reporting, there are documents that say here are the countries that are the greatest surveillance threat: China, Russia, Iran. Number one on that is Israel, because they treat us like an enemy. They take our money. They sponge off our citizenry. They suck money out of our. They suck money out of our country.
You never want to talk about our actual enemies. You only want to talk about Israel.
I think Glenn Greenwald is pretty open with his statement. He's saying Israel is our enemy. He's not saying Israel's our ally. He's saying Israel's our enemy. So I'm talking about America's enemies, which, by the way, beast mode.
Israel
does more damage to the United States on the planet.
Please return to your...
Buddy, there's no greater than the American taxpayer. So you bet your ass I'm a... You bet you are damn right I'm a... And we are all cucks to the great nation of Israel, okay? We just sit there on the cuck chair and watch Benjamin Netanyahu go to town, just dig in, okay? He just gets all up in Trump's every time he's out here. And we just sit there and we're like, please take more of our tax dollars, sir. Yeah, we're all cucks.
See?
Thank you.
Good job.
He said he reads too much Al Jazeera. Does she know he started The Intercept? Probably not.
Jesus. So here's the thing. I actually do agree with you that Israel does have an outsized influence on our government in general. I think that it's a policy thing that we have to start putting domestic policy ahead of foreign policy. What I don't agree with is your characterization of it as subservient. I think that implies a greater allegiance to a foreign country than what a president actually has. So let me understand. Tell me some of your reasons why you think it goes beyond influence.
Sure. So for decades in the United States, in both parties, when they had the White House, the policy of the United States has been that the worst thing that the United States has to overcome in the Middle East, when doing deals in the Middle East, when trying to advance our interests in the Middle East, is the fact that the Palestinians do not have a state. And the only way that the United States can ever improve its position in the Middle East is through a two-state solution. That's why, going back to the first Bush administration, back to the Reagan administration, they were threatening Israel. They were indignant with the Israelis that they were expanding settlements in the West Bank, because that would forever prevent a two-state solution, would mean that we were seen in the Middle East as suppressing the Palestinians. Israel ignored that. They expanded West Bank settlements. When the first Bush administration tried to stop it, Bill Clinton ran in 1992 accusing Bush 41 of being an anti-Semite. And ever since then, when that harsh accusatory framework came down on James Baker and George Bush and Brent Scowcroft as anti-Semite, American presidents, with some exceptions, have been petrified of opposing Israel and the Israel lobby. They can remove members of Congress like no other lobby can. They've proven that repeatedly. And so it's not just that they're our ally and we help them when it's in our interest, we help them even when it's contrary to our interests, as we're doing right now with this war.
Well, yeah, you just kind of danced around it. You didn't actually say what characterizes Trump's behavior as subservient.
When you take, let me just say one thing. But you want to know?
No, but let me say one thing.
Okay.
I actually do relate a lot to what you're saying, being called an anti-Semite. I'm running for Congress in Hollywood, Glendale, Burbank, and Pasadena. And the thing that I got labeled for criticizing Israel, the Israeli lobby.
Wasn't this guy like a woke cat boy or something? And then he had a psychotic episode or something. And then he decided he's he's like right wing now. He was a Hassan derangement syndrome guy, right? Yeah, I think he might be the only YouTube slop tuber that hasn't been able to reach any success whatsoever with the Hassan derangement syndrome route. Kind of sad, really.
And the government of Israel, to be fair, I got immediately labeled an anti-Semite by my own party, by the Republican Party. But I want to understand what makes Trump subservient, what makes the influence go beyond just influence and makes him have a greater allegiance to Israel than America. You haven't answered that.
By subservience, I mean when you take interests that are in the interest of another country over your own. And subservient, are you saying why is he subservient?
No,
like what
I'm trying to
causes that?
understand
Or
your
what do
logic,
you mean
because
by subservient?
what you've described so far is influence, which we all agree there's a foreign influence in our government that's outsized, and it very often drives our politics and our politicians to go beyond the interests of Americans. But that doesn't mean that they have a greater allegiance to a foreign government than they do to their own people.
I'm not saying President Trump has a greater allegiance to Israel than he does to the United States. I'm saying that the lobby that influences him, that he's afraid of, that he takes direction from, their goal is to make sure that American politicians are serving the interest of Israel even above the interest of the United States, even when it undermines or subverts the interest of the United States. That is the point of the Israel lobby, is to make sure that Israeli interests
You're talking
stay
about the
above.
Israel lobby.
All right, we got to pause there. You've been voted out.
Good luck in your campaign.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
I'm Eden. Okay, so when you're talking about the Israel lobby, are you referring mostly to AIPAC? Or?
No, I mean, I'm certainly referring to AIPAC, but there's a
I guess it's good that they're, asking that question, because a lot of people don't realize that the Israel lobby is far greater than just AIPAC. AIPAC is just the most popularized version of it.
gigantic number of other organs and arms of the Israeli lobby.
Right. And can you give...
I think J Street is also a part of the Israel lobby, for the record, just so people understand. It's a liberal Zionist lobby. And I would go so far as to say that J Street was less offensive at a certain point, but it's still an it's a pro-Israeli lobby nonetheless.
Examples where they're going outside of legal bounds?
No, I don't. My accusation is not that AIPAC acts illegally. I do think there's a good argument.
Oh, yeah, FARA. Hit him with the FARA.
That they ought to be registered under FARA, but under our laws, they're not required
Okay, so
to.
with the FARA argument, you do know that it's American Jewish interests, right? The lobby AIPAC is...
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Paul Manafort was an American citizen, okay? Paul Manafort's an American citizen. So why was he why did he go to prison for being a foreign lobbyist? Because just because AIPAC is funded by Americans, American Jews, doesn't change the reality that they literally go to Israel and get their notes from the Israeli government. That's the reason. You can't just be like, oh, we're developing a China lobby, okay? It's Chinese Americans like that happen to go to China, that happen to collaborate with the Chinese government, okay, and get their notes from the Chinese government, and then come back and lobby the American government at the behest of the Chinese government. If you thought that you can get away with doing that, you'd be out of your mind. Yeah, like that mayor that got the Arcadia mayor, my queen. And what she did doesn't even reach the standard of what the pro-Israel lobby gets away with without any FARA restrictions whatsoever. She wrote like a pro-China post on some goddamn newspaper that gets no circulation whatsoever. Is nothing in comparison to what the Israeli lobby gets to do
for American Jewish interests. So
AIPAC
to say
takes
that
direction from the Israeli government. They're over there all the time. I understand the argument that these are Americans, but but a lot of Americans have to register under FARA if they're taking directions from or acting on behalf of a foreign government, which I think...
That's why it's ironic that like Eyal Yacobi and all these other are trying to say that I'm doing this with Cuba or China or whatever the fuck. I'm not. I'm an American citizen and I have my actual perspectives. I'm also very critical of especially the Chinese government's like foreign policy at times. But those are my own personal opinions. There's no cash exchange or anything like that. I'm not getting my notes from any government official. Okay? That's the difference. AIPAC, on the other hand, directly hires people that work in the Israeli government, goes to the Israeli government, gets their notes from the Israeli government, and engages in information sharing with the Israeli government, but it doesn't matter.
AIPAC is, but I'm not arguing that AIPAC is criminal.
Right.
That's a different debate.
Okay.
We can have that, but that's not the relevant question.
So I hear this argument a lot. And what I always go back to is America is voting with their dollar, okay? So yeah, there is influence, right? There is Jewish American influence, but it is because the American people want it. That's why AIPAC is so successful.
Okay, I'm glad you raised that, because actually what AIPAC does when they want to remove a member from Congress, like they did with Cori Bush or Jamal Bowman in the last cycle, like they've done with tons of them, is they spend insane amounts of money for a congressional district, like they're doing with Thomas Massie now. They don't go in and advertise and say this member of Congress isn't sufficiently supportive of Israel or is too anti-Israel, because they know that's a failing issue, because Americans don't care about foreign countries. They care about their own country like every other country.
Right.
What they do is they go in and they deceive people by saying our ads are really about the fact that he doesn't tend to potholes, or he has bad constituent services, or he doesn't support health care, or he's too
And are they
this or he's
lying
too
about
that.
Are they lying about it?
No, it's just
so they're choosing to focus on other issues.
No, they are lying about it, but that's besides the point. The real lie here is that the reason why they're trying to unseat a candidate is not because they have bad constituent services, is because they are against Israel. Nobody dumped $34 million in the Thomas Massie race because they were very frustrated with the way that Thomas Massie was, in support of Trump only 99% of the way. Okay? That 1% is what matters. And that 1% was Israel. Doesn't matter what the ads say. What matters is why they're deploying this biblical amount.
It's
issues that Americans
exactly
care
the
about.
opposite of what you said, which is that
so-
they
so
go in
basically
and the
you're saying
reason why
they
you said the
focus on
reason why
other-
people vote for AIPAC's candidates is because they want support for Israel.
Well, you
But
know what? If they
AIPAC
raise
doesn't
the
think that
pothole
AIPAC
issue
doesn't-
and this candidate says that they're going to...
But that's not AIPAC's
then
concern. It's a totally stealth and
AIPAC
deceitful
can
campaign.
put their money wherever they want.
I know. I'm not arguing that AIPAC is a criminal organization. I'm not
Okay.
arguing that they should be imprisoned.
Okay.
I'm arguing that the
So you're
point of
kinda
the
saying there's
Israel
some
lobby is to
nefarious
keep... Yes, it
things
is
going on.
nefarious, because the point is to, in the shadows, hide their
And
agenda,
see,
which
this
is to
is super
keep American
convenient.
politicians subservient.
In a just world, after the International Court of Justice genocide case and the ICC genocide war crime case goes through and is adjudicated properly, then we would move on to all of the collaborators. And in that process, yes, a lot of people would have to go to prison, straight up. But we don't live in a just world, so that's never going to happen. Let's be real. Even if the ICC and the ICJ somehow, by some stroke of luck, were to finish that case, no one that is propagandized at the behest of Israel and its genocide is ever going to see the inside of a prison cell.
And captive to the interests
so
of
you
a foreign
always have
country.
to always have to revert to the conspiracy idea.
It's not a conspiracy.
It is
It's
a
done right out in the
conspiracy
open.
idea.
I don't think it's a
you
conspiracy.
You always have to go back to the conspiracy
I don't think
idea
it's a
because
conspiracy.
you can't
It's
deal with
in
the
the
fact
open.
that American Jews are voting for this.
American Jews. All right, do you know
are
what
putting
percentage
their
of
money
America? Do you know what
where
percentage
they
of
want it to
America?
go.
Yes, and you're free to do that. You're free to donate to whatever campaign you want. So am I.
You can
There's
make
no
an argument that
there.
we can reform the lobby system. Okay, that's fair, but Americans are voting with their dollar.
The
and this
difference
is the way that
between
they're
the
voting.
pharma lobby and the Wall Street lobby and the Silicon Valley lobby, which are gigantic,
Which are pouring
is
a
that
lot
they're
more
at
money
least
in, so
American
that's a huge
companies.
difference.
There's no other lobby that represents a foreign country that has even 1/100th of the impact that
First
the
of all,
Israel lobby has, and that's what makes it so
representing
different
an ally,
and so dangerous.
An ally. Jewish Americans have a vested interest in Israel. Okay, they're also
Why?
our ally.
What do you mean? Why do
well,
they have
a lot
that?
of some don't. Like you, right? You're
Yeah,
Jewish.
I don't- yeah,
So a
yeah.
lot of it's like you. So some do, some don't. Okay.
Right.
If some do, they can vote with their dollar. They're already our
So you're
allies.
saying a
so
lot
what's
of
wrong
Jews
with
have
that?
a vested interest in a foreign country?
Yes.
In how do they? President Trump said about Miriam Adelson, for example, who's a citizen of Israel and the United States, that he believes she has a greater loyalty to Israel. She would choose Israel when the two are in conflict. Would that be
And
your
that's a
choice
problem.
as well?
And I've heard other people say they have different they care more about other countries they're born in as well.
Right,
So,
but it's
like,
kind
I
of a
don't-
problem that
I
the
don't see the
single
point. We can
richest and
police
most
that.
powerful
We can put in legislation
Israeli
to
American
stop
is
that.
somebody who's
The point-
in the White House all the time, according to President Trump, has more loyalty to a foreign country than she does to the
All
United
right,
States.
so
That's
kick
a pretty
her out.
gigantic
What-
problem.
so what?
Kick her out. President Trump has her in the White House every other week because of
Okay,
the
well,
mass
she's
amount
not
of
doing
money
anything
that she-
illegal. So
that's
what's
why-
the problem? You have a problem with the motivation.
A lot of
okay,
things
so
aren't
we can't
illegal
just
that you can
police
still
everybody's
criticize.
motivations.
There are a lot of things that aren't illegal. scandal that still should be criticized and dragged out into the sunlight.
So let's criticize
and the influence
it.
Of
But the whole
that I am.
is this whole APAC is this nefarious grand puppet master thing is absolutely debunkable. Okay. APAC sometimes does not win. I mean, we saw with in 2015 the JCPOA the situation.
I agree. They don't always get their way. They get their way almost all the time, most of the time, and that is a huge
again.
problem.
America's voting with their dollar. So
okay.
All right, we got to pause there. We are out of time. Please return to your seat.
Thank you.
Oh, so they lose sometimes, in spite of the biblical amounts of money that they spend to subvert democracy. So I guess it's appropriate. It's all right then.
Want to be in a Jubilee video? We are always on the lookout for.
Oh my God! What is this?
Hello.
Hello there. There's so many things I could talk for hours on end. Even giving Kamala.
Oh, I bet you can. They got rid of the JCPOA. Yeah, they didn't even lose the JCPOA. They just got Trump in. Like literally, they spent a ton of money on Trump, and Trump got in and immediately ripped it apart. So technically, they did win on that too. Oh God. The prompt is the Trump administration has been considerably more corrupt than the Biden administration.
Harris, an appointation of, I don't know if that's a word, but appointing her as the next candidate.
What is this? Turkish propagandists perpetuate this idea that the Turks rescued the city from decay, but always admit that the poor state of the city and empire was mostly due to the constant Ottoman attacks and strangling the city by blockades. The East Roman state was viable even after the Fourth Crusade. It was the Ottomans that killed it off. Oh shit. Kind of seems like it's in copium, doesn't it? Os Bayrakları Os! Os Bayrakları! It's been exactly 573 years since Istanbul was freed. The city was falling apart from within and the Ottomans arrived to save it. Starting the glorious era we still celebrate today. 1453, best year of my life. Is that you on the right with the drum? Yeah, that's me. I'm a part of the Mehter Marsha. I'm a part of the Mehter team, dude. It's my secret life. When I lived in Turkey, I was a drummer for Mehter. It all went downhill after 1453.
Because he wasn't able to run. You're America first, right? That's what you're saying, right? Okay, so do you agree that it was corrupt?
So I'm somebody who believes that there was a lot of corruption in the Biden administration. My claim is not that the Biden administration was.
Yeah, this is also undefeated. Glenn Greenwald is undefeated on this because, like, he went, I would go so far as say overboard with how much he covered how corrupt the Biden administration was. So this is actually an about face for Glenn, if we're being real, because he literally, I mean, he went nutty mode. And of course, the Brandon admin was corrupt. Like the Hunter Biden stuff was just like basic nepotism, right? But that basic nepotism from Hunter Biden is nothing. And I mean nothing in comparison. No such thing as going overboard to no, like there's a difference between, yes, this is basic nepotism. It's very obvious what happened. He never deserved that Burisma job. He only got it because of the Biden last name, which is what I said, right? Versus this is the most corrupt thing that anyone's ever done, especially coming off the heels of the previous Trump tenure, when again, Trump under Trump 1 still did a ton more corruption with his children than Biden ever did with Hunter Biden.
Free of meaningful corruption. It had a lot of corruption. My claim is that the Trump administration has a lot more corruption. And we can talk about what those financial deals are.
Please.
Okay, well, I'll just give you one example.
Okay.
Jared Kushner, who's now running Middle East foreign policy and negotiating Middle East policy for Donald Trump, his son-in-law.
And doing a great job.
Right before he was put into that position just a year or so earlier, he created a hedge fund, and the number one investor were the Saudis, who invested $2 billion in Jared.
Burisma was under Obama, okay, and Joe Biden was the vice president. What do you mean? I know. Biden was the vice president. Burisma happened under Obama. Biden was the vice president. Hunter Biden was still his son. Like,
Kushner's fund, both as a reward for a job well done, for the service that the Trump administration in the first term gave to the Saudis, and also for making sure that the Saudis' interests are protected. It's basically a bribe directly to the Trump family. The Trump family created a crypto company called World Liberty Financial, 49% of which is now owned by the United Arab Emirates. We've heard so much here about how important the UAE is, about how Saudi Arabia is, and they're funneling gigantic sums of money directly to the Trump family.
Okay, but I just want to interject a little bit, because look Look at Nancy Pelosi. Look at all the inside trading.
I agree with you completely.
It goes way beyond that.
No, that's
so
not
both
way beyond
sides
that.
do it. Is it right? No, but Biden administration and all of the people on the Democratic side are doing it so much worse on such a larger scale. It's affecting America.
I worked a lot on the Hunter Biden corruption case, principally that he got $50,000 a month from a company in Ukraine called Burisma when Vice President Biden had immense influence in Ukraine.
It was way more than that.
And as Andy McCarthy said, who's a longtime Republican conservative prosecutor, in order to talk about or compare the corruption, similar corruption by the Trump sons and by Jared Kushner, you have to add 2 zeros to the amounts. And I think
that's my assessment as well. Like, these are in entirely different zip codes. Okay, it's not, nothing comes close to Trump 2, and Trump 2 is so bad that even Trump 1 doesn't come close to Trump 2, and Trump 1 was still far worse than anything Biden ever did. Not anything Biden ever did as far as like genocide. I'm saying as far as like, you know, straight, naked, ambitious corruption. Trump 2 is just not even, it's out of this world. I've never, like, I've talked about this before, but even with Erdogan or Vladimir Putin or all of these other like corrupt autocrats, right, that we think of when we think of like, you know, people who just steal as many of the resources and as funds of the governments that they control as possible. There is an environment of what's the word? They hide it better. Like they don't do it as openly as Trump does. It's kind of crazy. There's obfuscation. It's please get sent to prison. Okay, chatter. I don't want to upset you. Yeah, there is an environment of discretion with the ways in which like Vladimir Putin and you know Erdogan and the like the way that they engage in this grift. There's no tact in the way that Trump 2 operates. There was no tact in the way that Trump 1 worked either, but Trump 2 is literally just Trump coming out and being like, you're all stupid. Give me your money right now. I hate all of you. And then everyone's like, all right, I guess we got to give this guy our money. He's my God. Trump 2 is him running around being like, I love doing corruption. I love milking my fan base. I love doing inside trading. It's an honor to have my first ever comment pulled up. Lol, you're welcome. Of course. I've never seen anything like it at all.
That's what the concern is.
Biden was so corrupt.
We gotta move on. Thank you. You've been
Thank you.
voted
It was
out.
actually fun doing this.
Yeah. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Good. So I think that we can see corruption pretty, well in the Biden administration. You've got Joe Biden's drug addict son that got convicted on gun charges, on tax evasion charges, and
that's not even come on, man. Come on, brother. You really, you're a Republican? This is your big thing? It just sounds so stupid. We're talking about billions of dollars, billions with a B, moving around directly into the pockets of the Trump family. Checked out Hasan stream for the first time, and good Lord, the chatters in there have got to be some of the most R-worded people I've ever seen Lamau. Every chat is just poor grammar. Cuss words makes almost no sense. Lol, lol. Damn, dude. Here you are using no cuss words, proper grammar, and even asking politely for me to go to prison. Same jacket? Okay, calm down. It's not the same jacket. This is swag. He doesn't have it.
Joe Biden used his pardoning power to erase that completely. But I think that we can see corruption in its finest when you have a senile old man like Joe Biden, who is getting propped up and is basically a puppet for the Democratic Party.
So I think when we talk about corruption, we're not talking generally about just bad acts or malfeasance in government. We're generally talking about the influence of ill-gotten gains or malicious motives or self-interested motives in government decisions. What made the Hunter Biden case corrupt was not his drug addiction or his tax evasion. Those were personal bad acts on his part.
Well, it's a bad use of the bad use of the pardoning power for Joe Biden to do that. It shows clear corruption.
Yeah, I mean, President Trump has pardoned dozens of people, all of whom are very wealthy, who stole money from investors, who have friends that are very close to the Trump administration. There's a whole pardon industry surrounding the Trump White House where if you have enough money and you can pay $1 million or $1.5 million or $2 million to close Trump associates, you will get a pardon. But the problem with the Hunter Biden case, what made that so concerning was that he was monetizing the influence that Joe Biden had in Ukraine in order to get all kinds of money for himself. This is what Donald Trump Jr. is doing. doing, Eric Trump is doing, and especially Jared Kushner is doing in the region of the world that President Trump has been most influential, which is the Persian Gulf, where there's the most amount of money. Billions of dollars have flowed to the Trump family through properties and entities that they've created, including World Liberty Financial, including Jared Kushner's. Does that not concern you the way it did with Hunter Biden?
I'm not.
Talking about billions of dollars.
Right. Well, I mean, the HOC did report that the Biden family received $24 to $27 million.
I'm talking about billions. Again,
yeah, we're talking about billions. So basically, you're
zeros.
just basically saying that Trump was better at being.
No, I'm saying it's great. It's more damaging corruption.
So you're criticizing Trump for being more of a businessman, a better businessman than Joe Biden.
It's like saying, oh, that guy stole a Milky Way and that guy defrauded billions of dollars from old ladies, so this guy's better than this one at being a crook, being a corrupt criminal. Yes, I do think Trump's better at that.
Yeah, I mean, corruption is similar as far as how it's monetized.
Okay, we have to pause there because you just admitted the premise. You agree with Glenn Greenwald. You accidentally ended up agreeing with what the whole point of contention was supposed to be. You just think that it's good. Oh my God. I'm realizing that every single time someone is coming up to Glenn Greenwald, they agree with everything that Glenn Greenwald is trying to establish, and they just go, but it's good. That's it. I'm beginning to realize that Trump supporters just look at everything Trump does and just assume that it's good. That's it.
Pause there. Flags are up. You've been voted out.
Good, thanks.
I mean, he literally said Trump is just better at corruption, so you're mad. Dog, you're an American taxpayer. Shouldn't you also be mad at that? Like, what?
Good, Lee.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. So you're saying that Trump is more corrupt than Joe Biden? That's what you're saying?
I'm saying...
Okay, this guy's strangling puppies, right? On his free time. The energy changed. I don't like this. I feel like Glenn is in danger. Glenn, you got to get out of there. Why does he have 2 Trump hats, by the way? Wait, does he have 3?
Good, Lee.
What is that? Is that a Trump flag? Why does he have multiple Trump hats? I'm so scared. Oh, it's the red flag that they raised. Never mind. Okay, that's true. That's true. My bad. He could have just left it behind at the desk. I don't know why he brought it with him. That's the first time anyone has brought their red flag with them to the table, which is why I noticed it, because, you know, when they're running up to the table, they just leave the flag behind on the chair, which is what you would normally do, because why would you run to the table with the flag? Anyway, why does he have 2 Trump hats?
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. So you're saying that Trump is more corrupt than Joe Biden? That's what you're saying?
I'm saying the Trump administration has a lot more corruption than the Biden administration has.
Okay, I'm guessing by what, the war or his kids or what?
I think we're focused primarily on financial corruption. I mean, you can talk about other kinds of corruption as well, but the concern about Hunter Biden and the money that he made off his father's influence, which I found extremely objectionable and still do, pales in comparison to the extreme fortune that the Trump kids and Jared Kushner are building off of Trump's power.
Okay, well, Trump is not corrupted at all. We're not in a war as well. Sorry, there's so many. I wanted to answer you on so many things, but
the gummies kicked in when he got up there. Dude, this is Nick Shirley's America. This is the guy. This is Nick Shirley's biggest fan. Okay, he's like, that Nick Shirley, he's so smart. I love watching Nick Shirley. You don't understand me. Nobody understands the thought in my mind. Yeah, I said singular. Thought is hard to have two at the same time. I came over here after a long day of puppies. I did it because Trump communicated that to me via the telly. That's right. Trump told me to the puppies.
You're not being specific about how it's Trump, his administration corrupted. What exactly? Because his kids aren't the administration. It's just Donald Trump. So how is...
Well, Hunter Biden wasn't the Biden administration, but it was just the
I don't
president's
care about Joe Biden. I want to go on. You're saying Trump, okay? Trump administration.
He's like shocked. Maybe he's trying to understand what Glenn is saying. Maybe he'll agree with him. Let's hear him out.
How is he more corrupt?
It's a comparison between the Biden administration. But
Say
I'll tell
what, the most corrupt thing that Trump has done.
I'll tell you what there's a lot of things, but the main one is they created a company shortly before Trump's inauguration that's a crypto company called World Financial Liberty.
No,
that's not. You got, if you want to.
Wait, what? That's not true? No, that is true, my friend. That's just true. That's a thing that happened. No. It's not my Trump. Not my Trump.
I can explain it, but you got to let me explain.
So you're saying that he's corrupt that in a way that he can get in trouble, just like Hunter Biden got in trouble.
There's the World Financial Liberty, which is the.
He's scared. He's scared. He's like, are you telling me Trump might get in trouble? Not my Trump. I hope not. How can we stop it, Glenn? You seem like a smart guy. You look like you read a book. Tell me how we can save Trump.
Crypto company that the UAE has invested hundreds of billions of dollars in, that has 49% ownership, that paid a huge amount of money to enrich President Trump. On top of that, he created this coin, the Trump coin, where any foreign influencers or foreign power can pour as much money as they want into Donald Trump's pocket and have done so.
Are you aware that
Trump?
Are you aware that Trump never has took his presidential checks? Are you aware?
Yeah, what's the word I'm looking for? I learned it from Nick Shirley, benevolent. Are you aware Trump is the most benevolent leader we've ever had, Glenn? I bet you hate my argument now. Benevolent. Blah, blah. Blah, blah, Glenn.
That's
that he's given up all.
Yes, that's congratulations.
Oh, that's just $450,000. That's it. Okay. Are you aware that he's given up all his everything he owns? His
Trump's
motels,
an
his
infinitely
hotels, everything.
richer man now than he was when he saw.
Are
the
you
presidency
jealous
in
of that, or
2016.
like because he's?
Get his ass. Get this charlatan's ass, King. Yeah. Are you jealous, Glenn? Kind of seems like you're peanut butter and jelly. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, someone said, how has not a single person raised the flag yet? Because this is prime hog. Everyone there is captivated by his aura. His presence has intimidated everyone into submission. They know not a single person can bring forth a better argument than this man. Are you jealous? Yeah, they're in awe of Prime Hog. I am in awe of Prime Hog.
His president, is that jealousy or something? Are you jealous of that? That he knows what to do with his money and he knows how to do it?
Okay, it's not even a joke. They are clapping. They're like, yeah, yeah. You tell him like it is, Hank. Oh my God, it's awesome.
Were you a critic of Joe Biden?
He is not
Were you
corrupt.
a critic of
He's
Joe
not even
Biden?
close to corrupt. And you know what? You want to know what you're doing right now? You're saying that I saw you corrected yourself. You said you were saying Trump to the other people, but now you're talking to me and you said Trump administration.
God, dude, this guy, nothing gets past this guy. Okay, let me tell you. Wow, this man is alert. Okay. Of this man. I hope the rest of the debate is just this guy. I got you. You said earlier you said Trump, and now you're saying Trump administration. Why is he sweating so much? Oh, this is awesome. Oh, you thought I forgot her. That Trump is benevolent.
No, the formulation is the Trump administration.
I love when a stupid person think they got someone. You know what I mean? When they're like, yeah, Yeah, I bet that stings, don't it?
Administration has been significantly more corrupt than the Biden
Yes,
administration.
but
That's
you
what
were
it's been
saying
from
Trump,
the start.
and then you were talking to them saying Trump, and now you're saying Trump administration.
I'm saying both. I explained to you how
Okay.
Donald Trump was corrupt.
Okay, so Trump is not the Trump is Trump. So you think he's in control of whatever happens on something else, or his
The
kids
company
do?
that received hundreds of billions of dollars from the UAE is Trump's
and that's
company.
all Trump's fault.
Trump's company, he created the company with Steve Witkoff.
Oh, what if the UAE just wanted to give money and make money? You ever think about that, Glenn? Yeah, what if they just wanted to give that money with no questions asked? Nothing in return.
Steve
Is that
Witkoff's
Trump's
kids.
fault? Yes or no?
Yes, of course it's Trump's fault. He was the
How?
one who created the company.
How is it Trump's?
Okay, when he says how, I think he's sincerely asking. Okay, you might think he's saying how as a way to, like, you know, contest his position, but I think he's just confused. How? How did that work? I don't understand. Glenn, you're scaring me. Oh, that guy was awesome. Wow. I don't think that guy's an influencer. I think he might be too stupid, even though Nick Shirley is an influencer as well.
Fault.
Because Trump is the one who received all that money and now is
See, he's letting him cook. He's like, no, this is too good.
bed with the UAE. It's exactly the kind of quid
So
pro
are you
quo
saying
that
he
Trump
should be arrested
political-
right
We gotta pause
You're
there.
saying he should be arrested?
I don't think. I
So
think
how
it
is
should
that
be.
corruption?
We got pause there. You've been voted out.
Hey,
good to see you
good
again.
to see you again. How are you?
Good. As I've been listening, I've been writing down all the areas of corruption
Oh, nerd, dude. Here we go.
that I could think of from the Biden administration. And so what you have to prove is that what Trump has done is greater than all of
considerably
this.
more, exactly.
Right. So you have Biden's auto pen, where he's just signing legislation without actually not knowing what it actually is.
How do you know what
you
you
have?
do? How do
You
you-
have
let-
OSHA. Well,
let's go
let me.
through
Let me.
those.
Well,
Okay, oh God, it's just all, dude. One of the funniest parts about Trumpism is that there are people who are more intelligent than Trump, but they basically play with, like, training weights on for no reason because they have to, like, repeat Trump positions. So oftentimes, like, I'm fairly certain that, well, judging by the fact that he's literate, he can write, right, and I think read, he probably is capable of crafting a better argument than the auto pen. But because it's the Trump argument and he's a part of the cult, he has to advance the auto pen argument as though this is like a major point. To be like, oh yeah, Biden used the auto pen. He didn't know what any of the fucking executive orders he was signing were. Like, that's ridiculous, man.
Hold on, let me list.
Okay,
because
go ahead.
You
Go
have
ahead.
you have OSHA, where he tried to cram down vaccine mandates on working Americans unconstitutional.
That's the corruption. What does OSHA stand for? Vaccine mandates would absolutely be a part of workplace safety regulations. Oh wow, I can't believe Biden did corruption by forcing OSHA regulations, which is bad, and therefore I think corruption. Corruption doesn't mean thing I don't like. As a matter of fact, seemingly you like it when Trump does it, so it's definitely not a thing that you don't like. Corruption is not just policies that you don't appreciate.
Constitutionally, you have $400 billion in COVID fraud during the Biden administration. You have Hunter Biden, and I know you agree with.
That's not. No. That's general corruption. Okay? That is general corruption. And by the way, incredible stuff, because that's actually the Trump administration's fault. Because what you're describing is PPP loans, okay? And that happened under Trump. So that's not even Biden's fault. That was Trump's fault. And even then, I wouldn't say Trump is so corrupt because he did the PPP loans, okay? Because that's just general corruption. We are talking specifically about the Trump administration's corruption and the Biden administration's corruption. Unless you find some kind of quid pro quo between Biden and, like, major, if there was like a kickback plan where, you know, Biden never followed through on the loans or never forced any of the companies to pay out any of those loans, and they just never actually ended up dishing out those payments to their employees as they said they were supposed to. All of these are things that companies did that are unbelievably corrupt. Okay? But if you can find an example of the Biden administration purposely turning a blind eye to this generalized corruption for some kickbacks, then you can make that argument. Okay? You can make that argument in that circumstance only. You can't just say other companies were being corrupt under the Biden administration, therefore Biden is more corrupt.
So don't need to go into that too much. You have millions of illegal immigrants entering in the country and changing the voter base. You have free college.
That's not corruption. Oh my God. He literally, does he just think corruption is policies I don't like? I don't understand. And then you also claim that they're voting illegally, which there's no evidence for. So corruption is policy I don't like, and its impact that I just made up in my mind.
He tried to do that.
Also, it's unbelievably easy to impress me. I just realized because I just assumed this guy was smart because he brought a notebook. That's how stupid the average Republican is. That the first Republican that can write and read, I was like, well, he's obviously a smart guy. That's how low the standards are.
Constitutionally, you have Burisma. He went.
Actually, you're terribly misinformed on this issue. Not only are these all corruption, they're also communism.
After Trump illegally through different court cases, and you'll love this one. You know how much? You know who is the greatest senator who have taken the most amount of money from AIPAC? Joe Biden.
Yeah, of course. Joe Biden's a fanatical. I know that.
$4.2 million.
No, Trump has gotten more from the pro-Israel lobby, but Joe Biden has spent his entire career in captivity to Israel. So
your burden is to prove that Trump.
Wait. Even on that note, if you're going to bring up Israel lobby donations, Biden is a diehard Zionist. Like, he's an ideologically committed ultra-Zionist, and he always has been. And he's also obviously received a shit ton of money from the Israel lobby as well. But even on that note, Donald Trump still wins, like by incredibly wide margins. Like it's like 10x. What Biden received in 40 years, Trump received 10x in 10.
Everything that Trump has done outweighs all those
Have
other
you
things.
heard, I think there's an issue with corruption and what that means and what that includes and doesn't, but it's not every bad act. But let's just leave that to the side for a minute.
Okay.
You sat here and you've heard me list all of the different ways in which Trump, his sons, and Jared Kushner have built a multi-billion-dollar personal fortune by trading on their power. You've heard all those. I'm not saying you agree with them, but you've heard me outline those, correct?
I've heard you outline.
Do you agree or disagree with the claims that I've made about those?
Well, what I want to get to is
no, I know,
your
but
actual
we're building a comparison. So I heard you. What you put in
so
the
why
Biden
don't you
column,
go ahead and list all the multiple things, right? Because
I have.
Because I have. So
I'm asking you.
the corruption there, right? Okay, so then now go ahead and list all the other things.
I just got done saying to you that while you were sitting behind me for the last 15 minutes, I've listed 6 or 7 different ways in which Trump, his sons, and Jared Kushner have built a multi-billion-dollar personal fortune by trading on his personal power. I don't think there are things that compare in the Biden administration to the level of personal corruption. And what I'm asking you is whether you
don't think going after your political opponents.
I'm asking you is whether you think
illegally. You don't think
Trump has gone after his political opponents as well. He's tried to indict James Comey. He tried to indict Letitia James, and even the grand jury threw them out. But I'm asking you about the examples that I listed. Do you think I've accurately described the personal corruption of Trump,
saying,
his son?
Even if I grant your
premise, I don't want you to grant it. I want to know if you think I've
Why?
accurately described it, because we're talking about billions of dollars in personal wealth.
Glenn.
And if you think the corruption is worse in the Biden administration, tell me the billions of, with all the examples
Glenn, I want
you named,
you to defend your
do you
claim.
think
I want you to defend the claim that you're making.
I'm defending it. So Jared Kushner created a vulture capital fund, an investment fund, in which the primary investors were the Saudis, who invested $2 billion into Jared Kushner's personal fund. The Emiratis have invested hundreds of millions of dollars as well. Donald Trump, his sons, Steve Witkoff, and his sons created a crypto company that the UAE has devoted hundreds of billions of dollars to and then bought a 49% stake share in. The Qataris have done the same. Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump just created a new drone company that they're now selling to the Pentagon and getting contracts from the Pentagon that will further personally.
Trump phone. Talk about the Trump phone. Where's the Trump phone?
Enrich the Trump family. We're talking about a level, billions and billions.
Dude, this is not even like 25% of the shit that they've done, by the way. It's impossible. If Glenn Greenwald were to cover every single thing that the Trump administration has done in their second term so far. This entire video, all 1 hour and 39 minutes of it would be just to talk about that. It's actually so crazy. They do it every day. Trump shoes. He takes a piece off of everything. It's literally mafia style. It's unbelievable. Dude, okay, here's an example. Kalshi, right? Aside from like insider trading and whatnot, Donald Trump Jr. is now sitting on both the board of Kalshi and also Polymarket. He also happens to have unprecedented access to the commission that is supposed to be overseeing and regulating the betting markets and prediction markets. Like, even then, that's just one thing. We don't even think about it. Trump coin, Venezuela gold.
Dollars in personal wealth that did not exist before Donald Trump entered the presidency that now exists in his family by
the Trump Bible, stock manipulation,
virtue of these deals with the exact countries on which he wields the most influence.
There's two.
I need a Republican to explain why Donald Trump Jr. being on the board of Polymarket and Kalshi is different from Hunter Biden being on the board of Burisma. It's so much worse because Burisma is a Ukrainian company. There's no guarantee that Biden is going to give them access. Whereas, like, it would be like if Hunter Biden was sitting on the board of an American company when Joe Biden was president, and that Joe Biden was literally directly in charge of the regulatory apparatus that was in charge of that company. Because at least there is plausible deniability, specifically with respect to how much Hunter Biden was able to manipulate Joe Biden into doing things that would be beneficial for Burisma.
Points I want to make. Okay, so first off, right, even let's say I grant all of that. Let's say I grant
because
all
it's
of
true.
That. No, let's say I grant all of that. That still doesn't prove your claim. I brought up a whole list of things that Biden
How much
has done
money
that's
did
corrupt.
Biden and his family make?
Second point?
But how much?
Can I make my second point?
Yeah,
Can
go
I
ahead.
make my second point? Okay. Are American citizens not free to pursue business activities outside political office?
No, they're
Can
not.
Obama not pursue a
They're
Netflix
conflicts of
deal?
interest.
Can Obama not pursue book deals
Once
with
he's
other
out of
people?
office, he can. Once he served 2 terms and is out of office. Was
Trump in office when this was happening?
Yes, the World Financial Liberty Company was created in the transition after he won the election and before he was inaugurated. 4 days.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not a thing. Anyway, I gotta go. I'll be live tomorrow from the homeland, back to the motherland, ladies and gentlemen. Only 6 hours and 34 minutes. I apologize. We have to stop it early, but that took a lot of me. That took a lot out of me. Sorry.